Good morning, Facebook. I'm Stephanie Weaver coming to you live from the Recipe Renovator Kitchen here in San Diego, and I'm thrilled to have on the line with us today Chef Kathy Gunst from Southern Maine. Welcome, Kathy.
Hi, Stephanie. Glad to be here.
And we've got a guest today because Kathy's book, Soup Swap, is coming out next week. You can order it on Amazon today, of course. It'll be in bookstores anytime in the next week. Soup Swap. It's fantastic. I love it. It's one of my favorite books of this year. And we're going to have Kathy tell us about it while I make Thai red curry chicken noodle soup. So I'm going to go ahead and start sauteing. What are my first three ingredients, Kathy, that are going into my hot coconut oil?
Shallots are going to be the first ingredient. So I call for canola. First of all, I want to excuse my terrible voice. I caught some kind of a cold, and I'm very gravelly. So for people who know me as the resident chef of NPR show Here and Now, they know that I don't normally sound like this. But anyway, we'll move on. So I love that you're using coconut oil. That is really a wonderful substitution. You can use canola, any type of vegetable oil, but coconut oil sounds great. And you're going to heat 2 tablespoons, and basically what you're going to do is cook 6 thinly sliced shallots with a little bit of sea salt and fresh ground pepper, and you want to cook it until the shallots are almost, and I emphasize the word almost, on the verge of burning, because these shallots are going to be in the soup, but they'll also be a garnish. So those go for about 10 or 15 minutes. And then, I don't know if you're up to this, but in another pan on low, you're going to also heat some coconut oil or canola oil, and you're going to add the garlic, the scallions, and the ginger.
Yeah, so we've got that going. It's so I pre-cooked my shallots yesterday because they take 15 minutes.
Very smart,
so they're all
very
nicely
organized.
Caramelized, yeah. So I'm waiting for my, so what's in the pan right now is the garlic, the grated ginger, and the scallions. And I'm looking for them to be golden.
Can we just talk for a minute about how the ginger, this is a great trick, is you grate it on a microplane.
Yes.
You get all the juice of the ginger as well. It's a great way to grate ginger.
Fantastic.
Yeah, so your ginger, your garlic, and your scallions. And then you're going to add half of the cooked shallots and some curry powder, turmeric, and Thai red curry paste, which you can find in most grocery stores now. It comes in a small jar, and it's just a powerhouse of flavor.
Great. So let me tell you the story about that. So I went to 3 stores yesterday to find the Thai red curry paste because for some reason there was a run on Thai red curry paste. But I did finally find it. I had to call someone. So what I've got in here, so right now I've got my shallots just got added, which were pre-cooked, so they're warming up. I've got my Thai red curry paste and my turmeric and my curry powder, and that is now going in. And tell us why you always want to pre-cook spices in oil.
Jane says I can smell that right through my cell phone.
Thanks, Jane.
I bet your kitchen smells pretty great now.
It does.
What you want to do is when you heat them up, you're releasing the fragrance and you're really releasing the spices. You're giving them a chance to emerge and kind of blossom. It's always a good idea to do that. So after about 2 minutes, you're going to add some finely chopped cilantro, also known as coriander, and you're going to also add the stems. A lot of people throw the stems away, and the stems have a ton of flavor, and they also add a great texture.
So the book club says that they're enjoying the soup swap party.
Yes. So
Excellent.
Thanks, book club. So tell us about the concept of soup swap while I add the cilantro, Kathy, because I love the concept of the book.
So about 6 winters ago, I live in a small town in southern Maine. A friend of mine, a neighbor who loves to cook, called me, and she said, I was thinking that we should have a soup swap party all winter long. And I actually don't like potlucks. I like to cook when I cook, and then I like to be invited to people's homes. So I was very hesitant. But she explained it as a way to entertain where you don't do a lot of work. And that caught my eye and my ear. So the idea is this. You host the party. You make a salad, you get some bread, you make a side dish, maybe a dessert. Everybody comes with their favorite pot of soup, and they also bring mason jars and leftover containers, and you have a party. And at the end of the night, you divvy up all the leftover soup, and then you're really going home with 6 or 8 different types of prepared soup. So you're not stuck with that same old soup all week long, and you get sick of it, and maybe you end up wasting some of it. So we've been doing this for 6 years with a group of, there are 12 of us, and it has been so much fun and such a great way to get through the winter and the late fall. And I'm telling you, everybody's cooking. Their soups have evolved into really tremendous soup. So that was the inspiration for the book.
That's fantastic. And you actually were working on it during the hellacious winter of 2014, correct?
2015.
2015, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that was no, right, 2014, thank you. I was, and that was the winter that every time you blinked, a new foot of snow was on the ground. So it came in very handy. It was kind of exactly the kind of comfort food that everybody wanted to eat during that tough winter. The other part of soup, making soup and swapping soups and holding one of these soup swaps is that it is a way to build community. It doesn't have to be among neighbors. You could do it with your book club or your colleagues at work or your yoga class or even, a church group or a synagogue group. It's a way where everybody gets to share food that they love, but you get to taste a whole variety of stuff. And we also sometimes would just tell stories about our soups, and everybody would introduce it, and they would say, this is my great-grandmother's recipe, or this is what my aunt made every Christmas, or this is my mother's matzo ball soup, or this is the French onion soup I tasted the first time I went to Paris. So it's a great community builder and a great way to tell stories.
That's fantastic. So I just added the coconut milk, which is full-fat coconut milk. So I scraped the coconut fat kind of off the top. The one thing you want to do when you're doing that is kind of gently sort of puncture, if you will, through the fat so you don't have like a splurt of coconut water coming out.
Exactly.
And I did that. And so I'm just going to let that all sort of melt in together. And why would you use full-fat coconut milk versus light in this recipe, Kathy? Is there a flavor difference for that?
Yes, there's a big flavor difference, and I guess in many ways it works into my philosophy, which is that, like, I don't use low-fat sour cream or, cottage cheese or any of those things because we actually need fat in our diet, and the fact is that it's something that's very flavorful. You're going to tend to eat less of it because you're going to be more satisfied. So coconut milk is the same. You get that layer of that thick, creamy coconut milk on top, and it's just wonderful. Are you using chicken broth?
Yes. So it's actually homemade chicken stock. So I do a 24-hour chicken stock in the slow cooker. Now I just added, my substitution for this recipe, it calls for fish sauce and soy sauce. So fish sauce is fermented, and it's very salty, and I'm on a low sodium diet, I'm on a migraine diet, so I tend to avoid it, but it would be incredible in this. What I swapped out for those two things is coconut aminos, which is kind of a soy sauce type of flavoring, but it's lower in sodium and it's soy-free. So I have those suggestions on the post, and that's just
great.
gone in.
That sounds great.
And
Can this
A lot of people hate fish sauce also.
Yes.
I know people that will run 5 miles away from my house if I'm using fish sauce.
Book Club Cookbook wants to know.
You can also use the substitutes. You can also use a low sodium soy sauce. You can obviously use tamari if you're wheat-free. But I love what you're adding. That's great. So, okay, everything's in there except now. Yes, we have a question?
Yes, can this soup be frozen?
Yes, it can, but I honestly will tell you, you don't want to add the noodles for sure if you're going to freeze it. It's not my favorite soup to freeze. I don't think the coconut milk freezes beautifully. Sometimes you have to whisk it back together, but you certainly can. It will also keep for a full week.
Oh, great. So I just added the hot chicken stock, and my noodle substitution is a shredded green papaya, which I used on Saturday with my friend Drew. We made green papaya salad, and I thought that would probably make really great noodles in this Thai red curry chicken noodle soup. But tell us
I love
the
that.
trick with noodles and soup, because that was something really important in the book.
Yeah, I mean, we in my recipe we use udon noodles. You could use a gluten-free noodles. I love the idea of these papaya noodles. Something that's really important about cooking with noodles when you're making soup, whether it goes in the broth or it's served on the side, is you always want to undercook them just slightly, because the heat of the soup will continue to cook them, and you don't want to get this limp mush of noodle. So always undercook the noodles, and I also always advise, almost always, that you cook the noodles separately. You don't just throw them in the broth, because what happens is that the noodles will drink up your stock, and you'll be left with a thick, glossy mess.
Right, so it adds a lot of starch that you don't really want.
Well, there's that too,
Okay.
definitely.
Okay, so my chicken just went in, so I'm letting that heat up. My spinach, I could not find snow peas at this time of year, so I was not able to put the snow peas in. But now everything else is in here, so basically I just want to heat it.
You are very efficient. So the trick with the spinach and the peas, if you have them, you honestly could add anything. You could slice up some Swiss chard. You could add thin slices of zucchini, virtually anything. But the trick is that the peas and the spinach aren't cooked ahead. They're just thrown in at the very last minute so that the heat of the soup just wilts them, and the peas should still have a crunch. And the spinach, you'll still be able to see the whole leaf, but it will be softened by the heat of the stock.
Great. So
That looks gorgeous.
I'm gonna serve up my bowl here. Now what I loved about this is that there's all these toppings, and I was thinking this would be a fun soup to serve at a party, because you could kind of do like a taco bar where people could add what they wanted. Is that kind of the idea?
Exactly. That's a big part of the soup swap concept, and it's been a big part of the parties that we have, is that I always encourage people to bring fun garnishes. And in fact, I have a very fun chapter of garnishes and toppings in the book, everything from polenta croutons to avocado crema, all kinds of things. But I can see you have we have bean sprouts and scallions and cilantro and a little chili paste, grated carrots, and then, obviously you could grate daikon radishes, really anything would work in here. And then you add the crispy shallots that we cooked at the very beginning. See, now you get to eat and I don't.
I know, so it's so unfair. Oh my gosh, that's so good.
It's a real powerfully flavorful soup, and the color is so beautiful.
It's beautiful, and thank you so much. So let me just make sure my hands are clean before I pick her beautiful
Jane
book up
says the
again.
toppings are beautiful.
The toppings are beautiful, and you could see, you could make a vegetarian soup base with this, have the chicken
Absolutely.
separately, so you could have things where you could have it. I'm thinking for our microwave boy and I have a New Year's Day party every year, and I'm thinking this would be a fantastic kind of main where people could then garnish as they want and really enjoy, and it can be vegetarian, it could have meat in it. I could see this being a really big favorite in our house. The book is Soup Swap. It's on sale at Amazon now. It will be shipping next week. It'll be in bookstores next week. Chef Kathy Gunst, you'll also find her on NPR's program Here and Now, and you can check her out at kathygunst.com. You'll find this recipe and 325 other recipes on RecipeRenovator.com, and I'll be posting the link to this recipe and my review of Soup Swap right here on the Facebook Live page. Thanks so much for watching, everybody.
Thank you, Stephanie.
Thanks, Kathy.